Leah learned very early how to disappear in plain sight. She was not invisible, no. That would have been easier. Invisible people are not measured, not compared, not weighed, and found wanting. Leah was seen, but never in the way she longed for. She was seen as the older daughter, the firstborn, the responsibility, the one who must be settled before her younger sister could bloom freely into the world. And oh, Rachel bloomed. From the moment Rachel learned to walk, the world leaned toward her. Heads turned when she laughed. Conversations paused when she entered a room. Men forgot their words mid-sentence when her shadow crossed the doorway. Even the sheep responded to her voice more quickly, as though beauty itself bent creation into cooperation. Leah stood beside her and learned to be quiet. Her eyes, those eyes everyone whispered about, were her undoing. Some said they were weak. Others said tender. No one ever said beautiful. Leah heard the rumors even when they were spoken behind walls, carried by servants who did not know she was listening. Leah has soft eyes, they would say carefully, as if kindness could disguise truth. Rachel, though, Rachel is lovely in form and appearance. Leah learned what that meant without anyone explaining it to her. She learned that softness was not celebrated, that tenderness did not win songs, that beauty was loud, immediate, undeniable, and she did not possess it. So she worked. She learned to grind grain until her palms blistered. She learned the names of every lamb, every servant, every season. She learned how to endure silence. She learned how to swallow hope without choking on it. At night, Leah prayed. Not loud prayers, not desperate cries, just quiet questions whispered into the dark. God, do you see me? The heavens did not answer, or so she thought. Everything changed the day Jacob ben Isaac appeared at the well. He came not as a prince, but as a desperate man, smelling of the road and the sweat of a long flight from his brother's sword. When he saw Rachel, he didn't just greet her, he wept. He rolled away a stone from the well that usually required 3 men to move. It was a love of mythic proportions, the kind that ignites poets and destroys families. Leah watched from the roof as Jacob struck his bargain with her father. 7 years of labor for Rachel. For 7 years, Leah lived in a house where the very air was saturated with a love that wasn't for her. She watched Jacob's eyes follow Rachel's every movement. She heard their laughter behind the tent flaps. She was the invisible observer of a 7-year-long feast to which she was not invited. But her father, Laban, was watching to not with the eyes of a father, but with the eyes of a predator. The 7 years ended like a thunderclap. The wedding feast was prepared. It was the social event of the decade in Haran. Laban spared no expense. The wine flowed in rivers. The music was a hypnotic pulse of drums and lyres, and the veils were thick. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Laban called Leah into his private quarters. The air was heavy with the smoke of oil lamps. "Your sister is the prize he wants," Laban whispered, his voice like dry parchment. "But the law of this land is the law of the firstborn. I will not have my eldest shamed while the younger passes her by." The terror that gripped Leah must have been paralyzing. This was no mere trick. It was a violation of the most sacred covenant. Laban forced the heavy, multi-layered bridal veil over Leah's head. It was a shroud. He draped her in Rachel's sensma, and Aloisand weighted her arms with gold. "Do not speak," Laban warned. "The darkness is your ally. The wine is his master. The suspense of that walk to the bridal tent is the stuff of nightmares." Every step Leah took toward Jacob was a step into a stolen life. She entered the tent. The lamps were extinguished. Jacob, jubilant and intoxicated by years of waiting, embraced her. In the absolute blackness of the desert night, identity vanished. It was a night of silence. A night where Leah played the role of her sister with a desperation that must have been agonizing. She was finally being loved, but the love was addressed to a name that wasn't hers. The sun rose over the hills of Gilead, casting a brutal, unforgiving light into the tent. Jacob woke. He turned to look at the woman beside him. The woman he had worked 2,555 days to win. The veil was off. The light hit her face. And behold, it was Leah. Jacob stormed out of the tent, his heart shattered, confronting Laban in front of the entire camp. "What is this you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" Laban's response was the ultimate gaslight. "It is not so done in our country. To give the younger before the firstborn." The trauma of that morning defined the rest of Leah's life. She was now married to a man who viewed her as a curse, a reminder of his father-in-law's treachery. To fix the mistake, Laban forced Jacob to work another 7 years, giving him Rachel just 1 week later. Now, the tent was a battleground. 2 sisters, 1 husband, 1 loved, 1 hated. Leah realized she was trapped in a loveless marriage. But she also realized she had a power Rachel did not. The power of the womb. She gave birth to Reuben, she thought. "Surely my husband will love me now." Then comes Simeon, she thought. "The Lord heard I was unloved." And then Levi, she thought. "Now my husband will finally be joined to me." Each name was a scream for attention. But Jacob remained cold. He ate at her table. He slept in her bed when the rotation demanded it. But his soul was always in Rachel's tent. Leah was the fertile field, while Rachel was the beloved garden. The suspense reached a fever pitch during the mandrake incident. Leah's eldest son brought her mandrakes, small, yellow fruits thought to be aphrodisiacs and fertility boosters. Rachel, still barren and desperate, saw them. The 2 sisters faced off in the field. "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband?" Leah snapped. "Would you take my son's mandrakes also?" It was a raw, ugly moment. The tender-eyed Leah had become a woman of iron. She traded the plants for a night with Jacob. That night, she didn't hide behind a veil. She went out to meet him as he came from the fields and said, "You must come to me, for I have hired you." From that night of hiring came Issachar. Leah was no longer begging for love. She was negotiating for her rights. The years passed. The rivalry aged into a weary truce. Rachel eventually bore children, but died tragically giving birth to Benjamin. In the end, it is Leah's endurance that reshapes the world. While Rachel had Jacob's heart, Leah had the future. Judah, her 4th son, became the father of the tribe from which King David and Jesus would descend. Levi, her third son, became the father of the priesthood. The unloved wife became the biological foundation of the entire Israelite religious and royal system. When Jacob was an old man, dying in Egypt, his final request was not to be buried next to the beautiful Rachel on the road to Bethlehem. No, the man who had spent his life chasing a dream finally returned to reality. He asked to be carried back to the cave of Machpelah. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. He said, there they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. In the silence of the ancestral tomb, the firstborn finally took her place. She didn't win the romantic sprint of her youth, but she won the marathon of history. She entered the tent in darkness and deception, but she left the world as the mother of kings, resting forever at the side of the man who finally realized that the woman he needed was the one who stayed.